So, I just recorded 2 versions of an intro and the beginning of a reaction to the Heartstopper movie. And I didn't notice that I had muted my microphone. I had brushed the little button on the back. I had brushed the little button on the back of my microphone and turned it off 30 seconds in. So, yeah. And I may insert here the moment when I realized that, which was lots of silence with me talking, yammering on for ages, and then a moment of horrified realization. Oh no. How long has my microphone been muted? How long has my microphone been muted? Anyway, hi, it's Tom. I am here at last to begin reacting to the Heartstopper movie, Heartstopper Forever, which is the final installment in the Heartstopper saga, unless, of course, we get, like, a Nick and Charlie in their 30s Netflix series in 10 years' time. As usual, we're gonna watch. We're gonna talk about it. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, yeah, let me take a sip of my tea. Decaf black tea with notes of vanilla and some oat milk and some agave. The caffeine may be hitting me even though it is decaf. Okay, so let's start watching again the start of the Heartstopper movie. And as I mentioned in one of the intros, who knows, this will not be the entire movie right now. We're definitely going to break it into pieces. I tend to have a lot to say in these reactions. And yeah, if I do it straight through, I will die. So just in the interest of not causing rampant destruction to my mental and physical health, we're going to do it in parts. So here's part 1. I don't know why I'm doing this. Part 1. Ta-dang! So we're starting off with kind of a series of still shots, which are meant to be photographs from over the course of the whole series, which is very cool. Like, I love this as an idea of how to start off the movie, because not only does it sort of show us the journey from the start of Heartstopper all the way up to now, but it also really plays into the theme of photographs and capturing moments that we see in the movie itself. So I like that a lot.
Confidence, charisma, sex appeal. These are all the qualities that I offer if you vote for me to be your head boy.
Oh my God, Harry. Yeah, so we did have some discussion earlier. Oh, I should mention, spoilers incoming. I will be spoiling things about everything related to Heartstopper, so be aware. But yeah, so we did speculate earlier on whether or not we would get the redemption of Harry in this. I mean, to a certain degree, like, he has been redeemed a little. Like, he's not openly homophobic anymore, which is good, but like we don't get to see him ascend to kind of how he was in the Nick and Charlie novella. He's still kind of an asshole and kind of like very full of himself, which is fine. Like, I don't think every character needs to have a redemption arc, so I'm okay with that. But oh, Harry. Now let's double check. The microphone is on. The video is recording. Great. Love that.
Feel okay? No, but it's too late to back out now.
Poor Charlie looks so nervous.
The speech is great. And the rugby lad said they'll vote for you even if you're shit.
I've seen other people comment on this as well, but I do love that we get Kit Connor's freckles back in this, like, cause yeah, they're lovely. I love freckles.
I just think everyone's gonna laugh at me.
I cannot imagine the level of bravery that it takes Charlie, who spent so much of his school career being mocked and bullied by so many of his classmates, having the courage to like go up in front of those same classmates and just put it all out there. I can understand being terrified or being afraid that they're gonna laugh at you.
You're smart, you're tough, you've been through way worse than a speech.
I think it's also really important in terms of the narrative arc of the movie here, that in this scene we see Nick being the role that he feels most comfortable with, which is being Charlie's supporter, being Charlie's rock. And obviously, as we find out later, that's not enough. And that should not be his single role in their relationship. But it is one that he feels comfortable doing.
Charlie Spring.
Go on.
Yay, go Charlie.
My name's Charlie. A lot of you probably already know who I am because I'm one of the only openly gay people in this school.
The fact that there's a little, like, murmur of laughter after he mentions being openly gay, just... I mean, it's very realistic, but it really sets the tone for, like, what he's up against here. But... let's see how it goes. Who's this little shit in the front row, smirking?
I used to be scared of anyone finding out I was gay because I thought the other boys would bully me for it. And they did. They called me slurs, shoved me around.
This kid with his little face.
Made me scared to come to school. And most of all, they made me feel like I was the problem. But I wasn't. The problem was the culture of bullying that exists in this school.
Joe does such an amazing... I mean, obviously, Joe's an amazing actor, but I love in this scene in particular... as usual, his work with his eyes is fantastic. Like, when he's starting out and he's nervous and, like, the crowd isn't quite with him yet, his eye line stays down, like, it keeps flickering downward. But the more confident he gets and the more he is like, no, I believe in what I'm saying. I have an important message to tell these students. I really think I can help. He just starts staring straight out at them. And just like his posture changes, his voice changes. It's really cool seeing the way that he portrays this moment.
Guys often struggle with their mental health because we keep our feelings to ourselves. We have to brush everything off as banter and pretend that we feel okay when we don't.
Look at this confident young man.
Pretend that being made fun of or laughed at or kicked or punched or whatever isn't scary or upsetting or...
That's such an interesting pan also to have Mr. Lang standing in the background there. Kind of as... I think this is really interesting, especially as kind of potentially a stand-in for basically every teacher except Mr. Ajayi, but the teachers who kind of stood back while this bullying was going on and didn't stop it or didn't even know that it was happening. So I like that as kind of a visual representation of what was actually going on. And then here's Charlie, clear focus in the front, strong, centered, speaking his truth, being a badass. Charlie Spring.
Pretend that it isn't fucking shit.
Oh, I love that. I love the dropping of the F-bomb there. If anyone's mind was wandering, that definitely brought them back. Also, it just shows how passionate he feels about the situation.
I want to make it easier and safer to exist in this school no matter who you are. So if you want that too, I hope you'll vote for me.
Aw, Nick getting teary watching him. Yay! Well done, Charlie. I love seeing this confident version of Charlie. I mean, we've seen him growing into this person throughout the whole series, especially in season 3 towards the end. But here in the movie, we really get to see just the culmination of his journey and what an amazing, inspiring, confident person he's grown into. And so proud of Charlie. Hell yeah. I love this poster. Charlie Spring for head boy. Very smart and lovely, say his friends. I love him, says Nick Nelson. Wants to end bullying. Does not tolerate bullshit. Yep. I love this beginning of, again, we start straight on Charlie, so to speak. We start gay on Charlie. No, we start with Charlie, seeing him being confident, running for head boy. All of the whole friend group is coming together to make this happen. And that's beautiful. Like, we start with the focus on Charlie, but with the whole ensemble coming together to make something really awesome happen. Okay, and now we're voting. Is it Alfie? Is that his name? I can't remember, but he's adorable. Charlie Spring, hell yeah. Aw, and we have Mr. Farouk and Mr. Ajayi counting the ballots in the art room. I like Mr. Farouk's vest. I should wear more vests.
A moment you've all been waiting for.
Oh, I didn't even notice the back of the vest. Wow, Mr. Farouk.
With 61% of the vote, Charlie Spring.
Yay! Hell yeah, Charlie! Okay, we move straight into a party. It's so interesting, like, comparing this to the first party that we see Charlie enter, you know, Harry's birthday party back in season 1. He was just sort of slipping through, like, the crowd. But here, like, people are looking at him. People know who he is. He's confident. He's strong. So, my computer ran out of space. So I've just had to go through and move some things onto a portable hard drive and delete. But now we're back. So let's continue. So I don't actually remember what I was saying, but I think I was commenting on the fact that if we look back to the very first party that we see Charlie going to, which is, you know, Harry's birthday party at the hotel, he's very anonymous. He's just this like small, uncertain person trying to like warily look around and, you know, making his way through the bodies looking for a familiar face. And here, people are looking at him. He's confident. He's strong. Nick is pulling him along proudly. Like, here's my boyfriend. And yeah, it's good stuff.
It's a new head boy of True Grammar!
Woo!
Why does he just keep getting her?
You are such a simp.
Yeah, so in this party scene, we see Nick leading the way, pulling Charlie into the party, and then kind of, you know, announcing him, being like, here's the new head boy, this is my boyfriend, I'm so proud of him, and kind of like lets him go mingle among the people, and stand back and kind of observe and be proud of him and things like that, which is very different from a party scene we will see later, but we'll talk about that later.
Definitely asked for a recount. It's not like he even said anything important. He didn't even talk about the canteen.
Oh, Harry. Honestly, I kind of respect the fact that they did not attempt to make Harry less awful. Like, I kind of respect it, you know?
I think I probably am Ace. Yeah.
Imogen.
Like, what if I'm bi? It's okay.
It's great to see Imogen taking some steps forward in her lesbian journey.
So Hal said she's not coming.
You know she's taking next year off to focus on her music, on her gap year.
Maybe I should take a gap year too.
What about uni?
What about uni?
Hell yeah, Tara. I really like how the movie begins. I like how in this party scene, we're getting a chance to see how all the characters are doing and kind of hear about their future plans and where they're going and things like that. I'm sure I'll say this again many times, but I think it's important to remember that Alice and the team were faced with a very difficult challenge here to fit everything into the constraints of a movie. And I do think there were some choices made that could have been made differently to make a more effective movie, but I see what they were doing. But in any case, like, here, this is a great example of what I would have liked to see for the entire movie, which is the focus is on Nick and Charlie, but we're still getting a lot of the other characters. Because, like, Heartstopper has always been an ensemble show. Like, the comics were very focused on Nick and Charlie, but the TV show has very much been more like, okay, Nick and Charlie are the focus, but we get scenes with the other characters. They all have their distinct storylines. They're all growing and changing, and we get to see all these different perspectives on queerness from all these different people. And that's what we love about. That's one of the many things that we love about Heartstopper. One of the places where I feel like the movie fails in that is that it does a great job in the beginning, but as we get into certain events later on, I think too much of the focus is put on... We'll talk about that. I'm trying so hard not to, like, spoil everything I have to say later, but we'll talk about that later.
It's gonna be so weird next year without you.
Yeah, I know.
So how do you all know each other?
I really like how they're handling this party scene, where kind of the camera is just sort of roving across, and we're getting these glimpses of all the characters and what they're doing, and, like, I love this image of Imogen. This image of, like, Imogen just pulling her, you know, love interest across the floor and explaining about their friend group. You know, we pan from Tao and Elle over to Imogen, and just the movement is very effective and the storytelling is very effective. I really like what they're doing with this scene. Okay, and then we have Tori and Isaac. When I first saw these two sitting on the couch together, I sat up in my chair. I was like, yes, finally we're gonna get the Tori and Isaac conversation. I've been looking forward to this. I want to see this. Let's freaking go. And here's what we get.
Don't you get picked on for that?
Yeah, sometimes. Don't seem to bother me, though.
I like that you don't care about people thinking you're weird.
More! Give me more! This is a very good example of what I feel like is one of the less strong points of this movie. Obviously, we're working with a limited time in a movie. This should have been a full season. We know this. Netflix knows this. Did they give it to them? No. But this should have been a full season. If it had been a full season, it would have been absolutely amazing. They were working within the constraints of this time period, and they did what they could. But I feel like one place where this movie struggles is that basically I feel like all of the characters except Nick and Charlie are brushed off with a few lines. Like, we see more of them in this opening party scene than we do for the whole rest of the thing, you know? I know that we want to keep the focus on Nick and Charlie, but I really feel, okay, you know what? I'm going to say it. We're not there yet, but I'm going to say it, okay? I love Heartstopper. I love Alice. I respect so much what they have done with this series and the effort that was put into everything and the effort that was put into this movie. The performances are fantastic. The writing is great. There are many wonderful moments. And I think that if they had had a season, it would have been stellar, like the same or better quality of what came before. But I do feel like one of the big mistakes that was made was incorporating the Nick and Charlie novella plot point of Nick and Charlie breaking up. Okay, here's why. First of all, I'm really not a fan of the main couple breaks up for no good reason and then gets back together later on after a lot of sadness trope. It's just not one of my favorites. But regardless of my personal opinions about that trope, we spend so much of this movie focusing on Nick and Charlie being sad about not being together. And that time could have been spent developing the other characters, going through this. Like, the comic did this. The comic did it beautifully. The comic knew that the Nick and Charlie novella no longer fit into the vibe. Nick and Charlie breaking up did not fit into the vibe that the comic was creating, and I don't think it fits here either. So I feel like if it happened, if they wanted to go that route, they shouldn't have let it be such a large chunk of the movie. The focus should not be on Nick and Charlie being broken up. The focus should be on here they are growing as people, here they are doing this, here they are doing that. It's so much time was spent on it that we could have spent developing the other characters and what they're going through and allowing it to continue to be an ensemble show. Plus, like, one of the great things about Heartstopper is that it does not fall into tropes for the most part. It likes to bypass tropes. It likes to say, okay, this is what you think is going to happen, but actually, we're going to do this. It just feels like such a strange left turn. It feels like someone told them, okay, this is what has to happen in a movie. You need to have something super dramatic happen so then you can have, like, you know, it feels like they were trying to follow the formula of a movie rather than follow what made sense for these characters and what makes sense for continuing the momentum that the series set up. Yeah, so that's my primary thing that I feel like is a bit of a weak point with the storytelling in this film. There's enough going on that you don't need to have this long segment of them being heartbroken in order for them to become stronger people. And the fact that their relationship and their healthy communication has been so strong for so long, I don't know. We'll talk more. But yeah, I was wondering if I could hold that in. Disclaimer. Tom loves Heartstopper and will have mostly very positive things to say about the movie. He will also be pointing out aspects of it that he did not particularly vibe with, while maintaining the stance that overall it is a good movie and everyone did their best to make it the best send-off for the series possible. If you disagree with Tom's opinions, that is a-okay. Please do not yell at him in the comments like people did after Red, White, and Royal Blue, because that really sucked a lot. Okay, thank you, love you, bye! Aww, so Nick looking upon Charlie dancing. Yeah, we see a lot of Nick kind of standing back and observing Charlie. And here the mood is very positive, where, you know, he's proud of Charlie, he's happy, he's seeing what a confident person Charlie is. I think Nick has not yet started to feel like, oh, what if Charlie being so confident and amazing means he doesn't need me anymore? So he's able to just kind of stand back and watch him and be proud and happy. And he does go and join him as well and participates in the moment here. Okay, we have Nick and Charlie driving. We're happy. We're running joyfully down the beach, having a race like back in the old days. You're so slow. Okay, and we're kissing. Oh my, okay. Oh my god. Guys, boys. They sure are. So yeah, the opening sequence, Charlie giving his speech, becoming head boy, the party scene, excellent beginning. I think they did a great job of starting off strong. So we have Nick waking up alone in his bed, which perhaps is kind of foreshadowing the main conflict, which is Nick being afraid of being on his own and who he is without Charlie. But in this case, Charlie is just outside with Nelle and Henry. Look how far this boy has come, like from not wanting to take his shirt off to going outside in boxer shorts and an open sweatshirt with his bare chest just on display.
You'll get a job as a rugby coach for 2-year-olds, and I'll be a famous historian.
Ooh, okay, so Charlie wants to be a historian. Very cool.
And we'll have a flat with a river view.
Better sell a lot of books, because I don't think I'm earning much as a coach for toddlers.
This is so cool. Like, I love seeing Charlie having this beautiful, positive vision for their future together. And he just sounds so excited as he's talking about it. Like, it's wonderful to see from someone who, as he says himself, has spent so much time not even thinking about the future. And now suddenly he's able to visualize this happy, bright future for him and Nick.
I think I'm probably going to put Leeds as my top choice for uni. I don't know, I can actually see myself there.
Are you scared to tell me that?
Well, yeah, it's like far away.
I'll just learn to drive or get the train.
I love that Nick was so worried about telling Charlie that he's chosen to go to Leeds. And Charlie's response is essentially like, okay, I'll get the train. It'll be fine.
We look like babies.
You were babies.
We were.
Yeah, and again with the theme of photographs and looking back at who they were and who they are and who they will be.
You know I don't actually like rugby, don't you?
The truth comes out.
I joined the rugby team because I had an insane crush on you.
I'm glad Charlie is finally free of rugby. Okay, so here we have like Nick feeling alone, even surrounded by the thing that used to be his number one. Like, he used to be like defined as Nick Nelson, rugby king. This was his original identity. And now his identity is Nick Nelson, Charlie's boyfriend. And now Nick is alone back in this place where he used to feel like this was his place, but now he's starting to feel like, oh, geez, who am I? And speaking of who am I? Ooh, okay, in the lyrics here, I cut my hair the way you say you like it. So defining yourself in terms of other people. But how do they do that? Like, how many hours must they spend? How many literal days and weeks must they spend going through songs to not only find the right song, but the song with the lyrics that perfectly match the situation? It's amazing. And I said this in the trailer reaction, but I love the idea of Nick, who is struggling to figure out who he is, sitting here with an empty Word doc. Well, it's not Word doc. With an empty word processing document, typing just I am, and having no idea how to continue because he doesn't know who he is. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good storytelling. So yeah, he starts by trying to identify himself as he used to identify, like, oh, I'm the rugby captain. He's like, no, that's not actually who I am. I'm a good student. I mean, yeah, true, but is that really who I am? So all these kind of superficial things that don't really get to the heart of who he really is. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. It must also be very difficult for Nick being surrounded by so many people who have such strong and clear ideas of what their passions are and what they want to do in life. Like, Charlie wants to be a historian, Tao wants to do something with filmmaking, Elle is an artist, Sahara's a musician, Imogen's Imogen. But yeah, all these people who already know, and Tara and Darcy, even if they don't know what they're doing beyond, know that they want to go traveling together. They all have some semblance of an idea of what they're going to do, and Nick is just floundering. Like, he just has no idea what is next for him or who he is without the things that define him. Ooh, if I'm your everything, who am I? I'm a good boyfriend, yep. So this is the one thing that he knows about himself. It's especially heartbreaking to see him seeing himself coming up short in the role of good boyfriend throughout this movie because, like, and I mean, it's necessary that this not be the thing that defines him, but, you know, given that this is the one thing he feels like he can hold on to. Anyway, I don't think that made any sense. Okay, and we have Charlie working at the coffee shop.
Latte for Patrick?
And there's Patrick. Hi, Patrick. Patrick cameo. Charlie, silence your phone. You're at work. My God. So we have Nick taking a break from his trying to figure out his undergraduate statement. That's interesting too. Like, Nick spends all that time trying to figure out what to write, and then he writes, "I'm a good boyfriend," and immediately demonstrates that by picking up his phone and asking Charlie how his shift is going. Like, he's demonstrating the one thing that he knows about himself. Like, yes, I'm a good boyfriend. Look here, I'm texting my boyfriend to ask how his shift is going. Not that that's something that he's thinking, like, consciously, but...
David's here, by the way. He broke up with Jess, so he's moved back.
Good for Jess, but I hate that he's here again.
Good for Jess.
Wish he'd just piss off out of your life.
I don't know, it's complicated.
I will say I do like what they do with David, which is pretty much exactly how it goes in the comics, where, like, again, he's not fully redeemed. He's still kind of a piece of shit, but at least we see more depth to him and kind of more of the human side of him before he does piss off out of Nick's life, at least for the time being.
Not here for sex, you know. Could help with your essay, or we could go for a drive, sit by the river, or we could just talk.
No, I just want to... Maybe it's not a good idea if David's in the house.
We can be quiet.
It's interesting that Nick spent so much of, like, the end of season 2, beginning of season 3, trying to get Charlie to open up, trying to get him to talk to him, saying, like, everything doesn't have to be perfect all the time. And now here, we kind of see him doing the exact same thing himself, where he doesn't want to talk about what's actually going on with him.
Wait, did you lock the door?
Lock your door, Nicholas. Lock your door. David's voice in the distance, kind of reality intruding.
I was awarded Best Team Player at rugby camp when I was 12.
This is so interesting, too, where, like, Nick can think of nothing to say about himself, but Charlie, who sees him so much more clearly, is just, like, tapping away.
Not only am I the captain of the rugby team, but I am also incredibly handsome and have a very nice... Okay, but you have to let me talk about how lovely and kind and brave and smart you are.
Get you a person who looks at you like Nick looks at Charlie.
Maybe you should get a part-time job or a volunteering job or something.
Yeah, this is so important. You should have something outside of school just for you. Nick doesn't really have anything that's just for him. Even rugby, if I'm remembering correctly, was not something that he chose for himself. This is a great idea in terms of him figuring out who he is, of finding something that's just his, independent of Charlie, independent of school, independent of everything that he thinks defines him. Oh, it's this kid.
Did you want to talk to him about something?
Bye.
Growing up queer can be so isolating and scary. Queer kids need a space that feels supported by older students and teachers.
Yeah, so it's interesting that he has to talk to Mr. Lang about this, since obviously in the comics he was speaking to the headmaster. But, you know, I assume Stephen Fry was not available, and Mr. Lang makes a fine stand-in. But, like, it's a shame because I don't want to think of Mr. Lang as the kind of person who would say no to a pride club.
The thing is, Charlie, it sets a precedent. We don't have any other clubs for social groups.
Social groups?
I don't think I can commit to this right now, Charlie. Let's wait a few months, and we'll revisit.
No, we hate to see it. We hate to see Mr. Lang. Why have you done this to Mr. Lang? He brought them together, and now he's being vaguely homophobic.
I'm training with a new coach up north.
Michael!
He won't say it, but he's training to qualify for the Winter Olympics.
I love Tori and Michael so much. I love their relationship. I love them as characters. They just have such a wonderful, comfortable vibe about them and their relationship.
3 months without seeing Tori.
Yeah, sounds rough.
Yeah, and here again, like, Nick keeps being reminded of being separated from the person you are in a relationship with. In this case, Tori and Michael being apart for 3 months.
I mean, there's her life and my life, and when we're together, it's like...
I love Michael's way of explaining their relationship.
When we're apart, it's like...
Sometimes you just need sound effects. Like, sometimes words just won't do it.
Also, phones exist, so...
Yeah, so we have Tori and Michael, who are in a relationship and will be apart for several months. unconcerned. We have Nick and Charlie here are going to be apart, and Charlie's reaction was, well, I'll just get the train to visit you. It'll be fine. And then we have Tao and Elle, who absolutely implode over the thought of being apart from each other. So, like, we're seeing various representations of how a long-distance relationship can be.
What's up? What's going on? I had a dream you died.
Yeah, having a dream about something like that, it says so much about what's really at the top of his mind in terms of fear here. His biggest fear is losing Charlie, and it makes a lot of sense that he would be dreaming about something like this when he's facing the prospect of them being separated for the first time since they got together. Also, I think we can see a lot in the positions here, where we have Nick kind of curled up in front and Charlie, like the quote-unquote strong one behind him, kind of surrounding him and comforting him. But the fact that Nick doesn't turn around to look at Charlie at all during this exchange is really telling. He's feeling this pain, but he's not willing to open up about it and, like, face it head on. Okay, and at this point, we are heading into the scene at the bar where Charlie and Sahar's band are playing. I know Charlie's part of Sahar's band, but, like, Charlie and Sahar's band. So we'll stop here for now, because I have to get back to work, because this is my lunch hour. But we will return and watch the rest of the movie. It will probably be in, like, roughly these kinds of chunks, which means there might be, like, 85 installments of this before we're done, but maybe that's okay. Or maybe I'll have more time in the future to do a little bit longer of a chunk. All right, so that's about it for this portion of the reaction. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave your comments below. I'm going to assume that anyone who is watching this has watched the movie already, so I feel like we're fine to put spoilers in the comments. So, you know, if you haven't watched it yet, and for some reason you're just watching this, maybe don't read the comments. I don't know. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Huge thanks, as always, to our patrons, who are amazing, wonderful, fantastic, spectacular, and a special shout out to our Nick Nelson members, Paul Z, Kim Engel, Angela Mondragon, Tanya, Ken Smither, and Frodo. All right, that's going to do it for me. I will see you next time and other times. Okay. Okay.